Well, I want to join Sue and John in welcoming everyone to our legislative breakfast today, held by Zoom. Um, I was asked to provide a um, faith reflection, and I turned to the Anglican church in England that hosts something called the Sanctuary Center online. And I found a prayer that I adapted for this morning that I felt was appropriate. The Lord be with you.
Your spirit.
Let us pray. Let us begin with a moment of silent reflection on the world we live in today. As we think about this dark winter, let us also be reminded of the light, the shining light that comes from within our own hearts when we seek to extend love and kindness to others. Lord, we lift to you all those working with people who are homeless, our outreach workers and volunteers, health professionals, police, and local councils. Lord, we thank you for compassion and generosity of individuals, churches, and organizations. Keep giving them your wisdom. Breathe your life giving compassion and power through their services. We thank you for our leaders of our nation, of our states, of our counties, and our municipalities. Protect them from having to make funding cuts and give government at all levels wisdom and compassion to know the best ways and resources to help those in need. Help us not to reduce your call to share our food with the hungry and take the homeless poor into our homes, into something that can only be met by centers, projects, or specialized teams. We praise you for their life giving work, but ask that you would not let us not use their efforts and expertise as our escape from what you ask of us as leaders at the state, county, municipal, and community levels. Give us 2020 and 2021 vision of ways we can make room in the inn for our homeless brothers and sisters. Show us ways to craft and support policies that will shelter and house, feed and clothe, protect and shield the least of these, the ones found by the Good Samaritan on the roadside, the ones we find on street corners holding homemade cardboard signs. Let us be reformed, transformed, informed, and inspired to embrace your will for us and for those we serve. Help us to remember that while you work through programs and professionals, no one can meet needs like you can. We are called to follow you as you love the poor and the broken. So lead us to partner with you in whatever you call us to. In your loving, life giving, and liberating name we pray. Amen.
Well, thank you, Brenda, so much. We're going to be moving into the legislative breakfast, and just want to give you just a couple of background about a couple of statements about background about MICAH. So the Metropolitan Interfaith Council on Affordable Housing started in 1988 in response to the growing number of people experiencing homelessness. And we as people of faith, as organizations and people of values that believe that we are to love and treat others as ourselves, want to be a welcoming community where we meet the immediate needs of people experiencing homelessness or having other basic needs like food insecurity or other issues, while we work together to advocate for the changes to the structural systems that are causing homelessness and the housing crisis in our country. We've now been in our 5th decade of growing homelessness in this state as well as across the country. And there are major systemic causes of that we will be talking about as we're moving through the legislative breakfast and as we are working on both state and federal policy. So we're very excited about having you here with us. All of our work is around making sure that we are creating equity and that people that have experienced homelessness and the housing crisis are at every decision-making table. 70% of MICA's board and staff are people that are people from diverse communities, and about half of our boards and staff are people that have experienced homelessness. So it's critical that we are very representative of the community as we are coming together to make solutions that really work for people and that are based on what they want and what they need. So thank you again for joining us for this legislative breakfast. And we're going to start out by talking about our top priority issue, which we've been working on for the last few years. It's the lead safe home bill. And we're going to hear from Tycia Fletcher. And John, if you want to go to the next slide now. I'm sorry, I just jumped in to add a little bit more introduction. Tycia, both of her children were poisoned by lead. And she has worked with us over the years in writing the lead safe home bill and continues to work with us in advocating for it. So after a brief video, I'm going to talk a little bit more about our lead safe home bill and about the rest of our legislative agenda. Thank you.
Hi, my name is Tycia Fletcher, and I was residing in South Minneapolis when my children were poisoned by lead in 2010. My son was 10 months old, and he had to go to his normal well check. And when we went out to get his normal check, we discovered that he was poisoned. They test kids at the 10th month. And from there, my daughter had to be tested as well because she was living in the same household. And both children were poisoned. And today my son is mentally disabled and diagnosed with autism. So we participated in a window replacement program through Sustainable Resource Center. And once we had all of the windows replaced in the unit, because we income qualified, we were evicted. The landlord found some reason to evict us, and we had to move out of our South Side apartment to North Minneapolis. And this was in 2011. In May of 2011, North Minneapolis was hit with a tornado. My family was greatly impacted. We lost everything that we had, and this was the first time I became homeless. I had never experienced homelessness. I didn't know homeless people. But this was something that I did experience, and I wouldn't wish it on my worst enemy. So my family and I ended up in a Red Cross shelter, and this is when I met Elam Transitional Housing, and I also met the executive director of Elam in my pajamas. It was midnight, and this lady was still out working, helping families with questions and resources on finding new placement for themselves and their family. So during that time, I was offered a job with Elam Transitional Housing as a rapid exit worker, finding housing for homeless people. Again, I never knew anything about homelessness or its process, and it was by the grace of God that I was able to house about 30 families during that time in the shelter and during the tornado. So after working for Elam, I joined MICAH, and I was a housing advocate there. And then we began to work on a land safety bill called the Dust and Roof Shields Act, which is my son's first and last name. And we have worked with a number of legislators. Karen Clark was the author of, Representative Clark was the author in the House, and Senator John Hoffman was the author in the Senate. MICAH has helped me a lot with my organization, with legislation, and flat and housing. Because being an employer of MICAH, I had the opportunity to meet legislators I had never met. I never thought about going into the Capitol. Didn't know how to do a 2-minute elevator speech. I've learned so many wonderful, great tools to help me not only get the Dust and Luke Shields Act passed, but how to develop a bill and how to get it started and how to get it passed. So if you're looking for an organization to teach you all these things, MICAH is the best place for you to go.
With your support today and a commitment to support on an ongoing basis, you'll be helping MICAH fulfill its mission to ensure everyone in the metropolitan area has a decent, accessible, affordable home. Thank you.
We want to thank so much Tycia for her great work and her advocacy. So I met Tycia. I was that executive director of Elam Transitional Housing that met her in her pajamas when the tornado came through North Minneapolis, and we've had an incredible working relationship and friendship since then. She has worked for Elam Transitional Housing for rapid rehousing, and then did some work and advocacy for MICAH, and now has been working with the CHAP program more recently in helping people in staying in their homes as she's continue to work with us on the lead safe home bill. So I think John's going to put up the sheet on the flyer on the lead safe home bill. And Representative Fisher has just joined us and is going to need to leave at 8:30. So I'm going to just say a few words, and then I'd like to just turn it right over to him, even though I'm kind of breaking up the agenda a little bit from what we had originally said, but want to make sure that as the author in the House that he has a chance to talk about that. So as I mentioned, our MICAH 2021 legislative agenda is all about equity, and our lead safe home bill continues to be our top bill. While we've done very well at the federal level in increasing dollars for lead safety and lead hazard and healthy homes, over the last 4 years, in this last year, we actually increased it by $70 million. So the federal program is now $360 million. On the state level, the bill has made it to the final hours in the conference committee and almost has passed, but has been pulled out at the very last moment to balance the budget. So we are honored to have Representative Fisher again be our chief author of the bill in the House. Representative Hausman, who's the chair of the Housing Committee, is looking forward to having the bill. And so we are still working on a chief author in the Senate. Our chief author last year, Senator Hall, was not reelected. And so we were looking for a new Republican lead on the bill. This is a $2 million bill, $1 million a year, that's targeted in the urban and in the rural area to identify areas where we have diverse populations that have a high rate of lead poisoning, to have units inspected, and then to make them lead safe. So I'm going to turn it over to Representative Fisher and let him talk for a few moments, and I'll come back and talk a little bit more about the bill.
Thank you, Sue. Thank you, everybody, for the opportunity to be here today. And I appreciate the opportunity to have the schedule rearranged a little bit. It's been quite busy as we've been going into the session with the Zoom environment. It seems to take a little bit more effort in some ways than we've had in the past. I'm looking forward to moving the bill through this year. I know that when I've talked to Representative Hausman, she's very open to the bill and hearing it as it comes out. We're still waiting for the jackets to come out of the revisor's office. They've got a backup in the revisor's office. So the last bills I had were about submitted over 4.5 to 5 weeks ago coming through. So that gives you an idea at times how far back we are. But I do have commitments to have a hearing to make sure that we're moving forward. I do know that they tell you how much of a priority this is for Representative Hausman. We were talking about it last year, and she was prompting me over the summer on it to make sure that it was coming back again. She feels this is something very important. I appreciate the opportunity to be able to work with MICAH and everybody else to make sure that we're getting this bill through. It's a high priority, and we want to make sure we're doing what we can to get lead out of homes. That's something that is very important for us. So thank you for the opportunity, and that's kind of where we are right now.
Thank you, Representative Fisher. And let me just give a little bit more information about the Lead Safe Home Bill. I just wanted to make sure he had an opportunity to share with you before he needed to leave the meeting. So currently we have 359,000. Oops, if you want to go back to the other slide, John, we're going to stay on the Lead Safe Home Bill for another couple moments. 359,000 rented occupied homes that have lead in it. So lead paint was allowed up until 1979 when it was then not allowed anymore. So we have a lot of older homes in the state that have lead paint in it. And so if you look at all the homes, including home ownership, we have about 1 million homes that have lead paint in it that are at danger to our children that are living in there if there's like chipped paint or if they put dust from the windows into their mouths. We have about 700 children that are poisoned each year from lead-based lead paint poisoning. And one of the very hard things that we're looking at right now is that with the stay-at-home orders and with the COVID-19, we've had a 42% drop in the number of children that are being tested. This is a great concern to the Minnesota Department of Health. We think we're going to have a great spike in the number of children that have been poisoned because they've been spending so much more time at home. So for us to make a home lead safe, it only costs us about $2,500. So that's basically the testing, and then it's painting over the lead. It does not mean we have to abate it or get rid of it totally. We can paint over it every 5 years and make it safe. If a child becomes disabled from lead, that means their brain is damaged. And it has incredible impacts on that child in regards to their ability to do well and to learn and to even function. And this is a lifelong disability. In addition, it destroys many aspects of family life, as Tycia will tell you as she continues to testify in the bill. And we spend incredible amounts of dollars, of tax dollars, helping the family and the child that's been poisoned. The cost is basically about $100,000 per year per child for the rest of their life. So Dustin, Luke's shield, the bill is named after. He's now 12 actually now, I think he just turned 12. So we have spent about $1.2 million in services to help him in a totally preventable issue in his life. We could have prevented him from becoming disabled by addressing this lead issue. So the bill puts $1 million per year into urban and rural areas targeted at some of the highest levels of concentration of both units that have lead paint in them, as well as where we're also seeing folks that have been poisoned by lead. So we encourage you as we go into the call to action and later in this meeting is that you make your phone calls to Representative Houseman, who is very supportive of the bill, and Senator Draheim, who is the chair of the Senate Housing Committee, where it will go to, and ask them to support the bill as it's moving forward. And then if you're interested in being one of our senators and authoring the bill, we are happy to talk with you about that too. So now, John, we'll move to the next slide and talk about our agenda for this year. Is our second agenda item. If you want to go back. Our second agenda item is the Homes for All legislative agenda. MICAH has been a strong and key player in the development of the Homes for All coalition, as well as members, and are actively involved in that, as well as we were able to help Homes for All begin to understand and actually place people that have experienced homelessness and the housing crisis on major decision-making bodies. So Linda Soderstrom sits on advisory committee, Janelle Anderson-Freeman, who's on the MICAH board, as well as Rome Daring, have sit on the steering committee for the Homes for All agenda. And we believe, again, that it's critical that people that have experienced homelessness are at the decision-making tables. So one of the bills that we're working on protecting rights and advancing equity is the Shelter Residents Bill of Rights. So this came out of work from Street Voices of Change and Freedom from the Streets of people that have actually been in the shelters, and wanting to make sure that we have some basic standards that are happening within shelters so everybody knows what their rights and responsibilities are. This is moving forward in legislation, and we're working on a task force. The other thing that we see a lot of times is income discrimination. So if you have a Section 8 subsidy or some other type of subsidy. We have landlords that say, oh, I'm not going to take that. Well, we'd like to pass some legislation that says that no matter what your income is, if you have the income and you can afford the unit, is that you should be able to rent the unit, and a landlord should not turn down that. A number of reforms on evictions, and then also continue to work on the COVID-19 eviction moratorium. Under the peacetime emergency in the state, we do have a moratorium on evictions until February 12th, and we do have a federal moratorium until March 31st. We are hopeful that we can continue to extend the state moratorium as we're moving forward. And then we're looking at increases in dollars for shelters and other supports. So the Bridges program, which helps folks with mental health issues, have subsidies while they're waiting to get into Section 8. Housing support programs to help people get out of shelters into housing. Additional dollars for shelters and outreach through the Emergency Services Program. And then continue to expand our resources while we are still in the COVID-19 pandemic. Last year in 2020, we spent $50 million on outreach, shelter, and getting people into motels out of congregate sites. Our usual budget for the Emergency Services Program is $1 million per year. So we've already added 8.9 and have several other bills to add additional dollars into that. Creating and preserving more homes. We want to make sure that we're keeping housing long-term affordable, and that we're making the units that we are creating affordable for people at 30% of median income and below, basically folks that are below $30,000 and folks that are on fixed incomes and for our seniors. The 4D incentive program is to help landlords be able to get a better tax break if they are providing housing that's affordable. And then we do have a $100 million bonding bill that's been proposed by the governor, and Janelle and Rome worked with us in pushing that we would have targeting of the bonding dollars at 50% below median income, with targeted at 30% of median income and below for the bonding bill without supportive services. Well, like Janelle will say oftentimes in our meetings, is that just because you're poor doesn't mean that you need to have supportive services. We have lots of folks out there that do quite well if they just have housing that's affordable. Then we want to make sure that our friends that are in our manufactured home parks have opportunities to purchase the parks as they become available, and that we're creating more workforce home ownership opportunities. So that entire continuum to housing that we're really working on, from helping people prevent people from becoming homeless, outreach, shelter, transitional, a variety of supportive types of housing, and then affordable housing that's affordable for the income that people have, as well as affordable rental housing. And then we're continuing to work on additional work through the Home Ownership Minnesota program too. In addition to that, and John, you can go ahead and go on to the next slide, because I'm just about done here if we're moving on. In addition to that, MICAH is working with other groups. We are working on the Promise Act, which will help us in rebuilding the communities that were destroyed by the riots and the civil unrest after the George Perry Floyd murder. So the buildings and businesses that were destroyed along Lake and Chicago, as well as in the Midway area and in North Minneapolis. One of our new members for MICAH is ALC. It's the African Immigrants Lake Council. And so they've been working with us on that legislation, as well as a large number of other groups that are working on that legislation. And then we helped start the Second Chance Coalition, which is for folks that have criminal histories, is to help make sure that they get jobs and get into housing. And this is a group that's working on reducing fines and making sure that people that do have a criminal record have their ability to restore their vote after they have completed their time on probation or on parole. So we look forward to continue to work with you, and hope that you will continue to work with us on both the Lead Safe Home Bill as well as the rest of the legislative agenda. Thank you.
Thank you, Sue. I'd also like to thank everybody, and I just kind of want to take a look. We are interested in hearing from not only our state representatives, but we have a number of county folks from county boards, and well, one from each county board and a mayor. and also Susan Vento, who's on the Met Council here. There are two proposals in Washington County at the county level that we're looking at. This is just a little overview. As I'm sure folks know, that in both counties there are people that are severely in need of more housing affordability. The Washington County numbers show that between renters and owners, nearly 21,000 people are spending more than 30% of their income on housing. And if you look at the chart on the right, the jobs that we've got now and the jobs that we've got coming up are not going to be doing a great job at giving people the money that they need to be able to afford the housing as well. At MICAH, we know that there's both money, it's both the money that you've got in your pocket and the cost of affordable housing. Both of those are things that, that make housing affordable or not. Specific to Washington County, we'll be asking Fran about this when in just a little bit. There is a proposal. Washington County staff and a lot of people all throughout the county have been working to create an adult homeless shelter within the county. Currently, the family shelters that are operated by the managed by St. Andrews Community Resource Center it provides some level of family shelter, but we don't have in Washington County those services. And so our question for those who are elected officials in the Washington County level that we'll be asking, do you support purchasing a property for an adult shelter in 2021 and then opening that shelter by 2022? Shifting over into the Ramsey County world. So the facts that we've got here, these include, this is all of Ramsey County. MICAH, of course, well, and I in particular am also the organizer for the St. Paul group. Ramsey County as a whole has far more folks that are housing burdened. Some of those are suburban, some of them are not. But brushing up on over 65,000 people within the county who are housing burdened is something that we really need to deal with. And as we can see here, the percent of renters who are housing burdened is particularly, it's a large group. The median home value salary is less is needed, but the wages are also in that same area. Folks on the county board have been working to activate a tax levy that hadn't been. And one of the greatest things that we've got is, and I always say, they say you can't solve a problem by throwing money at it. There are some problems that are really, really helped by a good deal of money. The county is considering activating their HRA levy. And so for Victoria and for Mayor Joe, we're going to ask folks where they believe additional resources could be best used in their communities. And so that's kind of our Ramsey and Washington County overview. The next thing on our agenda would be hearing from folks. We'll start with the state legislators and then move to the Washington County and Ramsey County people. Sue, do you have anything that you'd like to add before we move on?
Just in regards to the both our state and federal work, in the chat, you can go to our MICAH website and you can sign up for our action alerts. And then you can also go under our work and under policy. We have both our 2021 state legislative work as well as our federal legislative work, and encourage you to go there often because those are going to be ongoing updated sites, as well as you'll be getting constant contact email from me probably at least once a week if you sign up for the information on what's happening. And again, as far as equity, what we're talking about is equity and making sure that everyone has a safe, decent, accessible home that's affordable, whether it's rental or home ownership, and equity in how we're using our dollars. So that includes both our appropriation dollars, which is how we put money into a bill. Also our bonding dollars, which are the ones that are most familiar probably to folks, but also what's called our tax expenditure budget, which is where we do our tax write-offs. So making sure that across all of those different funding sources that we have equity in making sure that we have as much money going into rental housing for people with very limited incomes as we do into homeowners, so that people have opportunities to have a home. Thank you.
Excellent. So Sue covered our main, our state agenda. And so for this point, we'd like to hear from our elected officials. And I've been keeping a list, and will correct me if I've missed anybody. At this point, we'd like folks who are in the state legislature, representatives and senators to speak to these two questions. You've got about 3 minutes. First off, what are you doing to make housing happen? And then secondly, we want to know specifically on our agenda, will you support the lead safe homes bill? Representative Fisher had to leave us. And I am pretty sure that he'll be supporting the lead safe homes bill, as he's the chief author on that bill. I am going to just go through and see as I've got them in alphabetical order. Representative Christensen, are you there?
I'm here.
And here's
Live
my
and
timer.
live and almost in person. Yeah.
There we go.
Wow, I'm impressed. We have 45 people here, and you know, the volume of information and data and the work that you're doing is amazing to me. So thank you. The faith communities have been so active in this area, and I congratulate them. I know in Stillwater here, I represent kind of the St. Croix Valley area, Lake Elmo Grant. In the Stillwater area, I have visited the teen shelter that we have in town here. And then, you know, I'm pretty familiar with the St. Andrews organization and what's going on. But I haven't heard a lot, so I'm eager to hear about the Washington County purchase for a homeless shelter. So I'd love to know more about that. I will absolutely support the lead safe homes bill. You have fierce advocates in the Minnesota House in providing affordable and safe and equitable housing for all. In Alice Hausman and Mike Howard and Representative Fisher here in sponsoring this bill. So moi to you, the work that you're doing is amazing. I'm here for you. I will, you know, I will help you all along the way and do whatever I can. So reach out. And, you know, I'm very aware that even in our suburb out here that we have a homeless problem. And I think it's sometimes, well, you know, that it's people aren't aware of it. So, you know, I will be a voice for you. So let me know anything I can do to help you. And thanks so much. I know in the housing committee so far this year, the Catholic Charities and Lutheran Social Services, and I mean, the faith communities are doing great work here. So thank you, thank you, thank you.
Excellent. Thank you, Representative Christensen. Next on our list is Karen Housley. Thank you for being here today. Karen?
Hey, hi, Karen Housley here. I represent Stillwater, the surrounding St. Croix Valley, and up into Forest Lake and Scandia, Franconia, East Metro. I'm serving my 9th year in the Senate, my 3rd term. And this year we are focusing a lot on housing. It is a huge issue. I know as of right now, I am actually sponsoring the HCAT bill. It is for homeownership, education, counseling, and training. That one is just going into the hopper. And then also, I've been working a lot with those folks who are leasing out at Cimarron Park. Worked all summer long, and we have a bill. It's the bill that you guys have as your priority. And so I'm working with those folks, and we'll be dropping that bill the manufactured home parks opportunity to purchase workforce. Because what happens is if you live in one of these manufactured homes and all of a sudden your landlord decides to sell the whole piece of property, you're out of luck. You're pretty much homeless, and that is their affordable housing. So trying to work on that and get that done this year. Senator Draheim, the chair of the Housing Committee, he's identified 5 areas that he'd like to focus on this year in the Senate, not in any particular order, but tackling the equity gap in home ownership, the COVID-19 response to housing, the rental and home ownership assistance, extending the pathways to home ownership, addressing the eviction moratorium, and addressing housing instability. Those are all extremely important to us. I know Senator Hall authored the Lead Safe Homes bill last go around, and like you said, Senator Hall didn't get reelected. I was talking to Representative Peter Fisher before we got on here to find out what happened to it last year and why didn't it pass. It got a hearing in the House, but then COVID hit and everything, you know. So it we'll definitely have to bring that back up on the table, and I'm more than happy to author that bill. And I saw Senator Uyghur in the chat also will co-author it. So you've got two senators on here that are absolutely game for supporting that and getting that done this year. So send that on over to me. I'll tell Peter Fisher to send that bill on over to me. I also want to thank Mica and Sue for inviting me, and John, and for doing this legislative breakfast. So thank you so much, and we will be working to. That's the one thing I want to tell you. It's a lot of priorities on the list, and I know the number one is the lead safe home bills. So if you're going to get all of your members, just get them to stick on that one, because bills this year are a little bit tougher to hear, a little bit tougher to pass. So sticking on just 3 priorities. I love the whole list, but let's start with the lead safe home bills and get that thing done first, and then move on from there. So thank you again for having me.
Well, Senator Karin, I want to thank you very much for your public statement of support. We will be recapping, I'll be recapping what folks said and what I heard folks say. And more than happy to author is a great way to go. As we move down the list, Representative Lilly is out by the alphabet next up.
Hi, good morning, everyone. I'm waiting for the pancakes, though, or something. You said breakfast.
Yeah. It's a BYO this year. Thank you, sir.
Little false advertising. Anyways, thanks for having us. It's so nice to see everyone. I see Mark Sather there. I see him every year at the Thanksgiving Meals on Wheels. We kind of have an annual deal at Bill Fassard's Thanksgiving deal, and he's always there working every morning. But it's nice to see him. I didn't get to see him this year. Sadly, that didn't happen. But I'm happy to be invited here this morning and happy to support the lead safe bill. And definitely it was great to hear from the lady in the video and kind of tell her story. But I'm on the Capital Investment Committee in the House, and been lucky enough to be on that a couple terms here. And we've done a pretty good job of the last couple of years with housing, and I'm strongly believe that we're going to be able to do that again this biennium. But I encourage your members to get out and push to do a bill this year. We have capacity, and just like everybody's seeing with their the rates are low, and the state has a pretty solid capacity to do a bigger, robust bill. So I would push us to try to push some of that in the first year and the second, to build out some of this housing. So I'm happy to do that and work on these things. Yesterday WCCO had that food safety thing, and I hope you're not forgetting about food safety. To me, that's a very important. They said on the radio, it said 1 in 8 homes or people are hungry, and 1 in this with the kids, the number's even worse. And how sad is that? So if we can work on these housing issues and certainly the food and everything. But anyways, thank you for having us, and I'll be there for along the way. And I know the House is going to be really strong on the housing and on both these issues, all these. Anyways, thanks.
And thank you. Happy to support the lead-free homes bill. Also great to hear. Senator Uyghur. Chuck.
Good morning, everybody. Great job on Lead Safe Homes bill. Absolutely. And if Senator Housley wants to primary author, great. I can do that, be a co-author. The bottom line is let's get it to the committee and get it through and gather momentum. And so all in, the testimony is very compelling. And this is such a bipartisan issue in terms of safety in the environment, the expectation. And we went through the nightmare of TCE exposure in the greater White Bear Lake area on the TCE issue from water gremlin. And we, with bipartisan support, we became the first state in the entire United States to pass a ban. And the same compelling type arguments are before us here. So absolutely bring it on. For housing, yes, I believe we're going to have a bonding bill. Once it was clear that Tom Bach was going to be the chair of it, you're going to see a bonding bill. And the Representative Lilly, others have mentioned that this is a great opportunity it's knocking to address housing. I know the governor will again make this a priority. I serve on the bonding committee again. We're having our first meeting at 10:30 this morning. So tune in. We'll be doing an overview of the plans and some introductions. So all in on the housing issues as well, and for the issues that you addressed for second chance. Representative Lilly mentioned the food insecurity issue, and it is so real, as you know. And just yesterday, I'm hearing from North St. Paul, which is a part of your area, where they need additional space. They're looking now at trying to put something together in partnership with various other groups in the community, and Scott Dudek, the city manager, is working on that. So there's a lot out there. I am the minority lead for education in the Senate, and we are looking at a number of programs that address equity early on. And I know I've gone over time here, but that is an additional area that it's so important. And when we hear the compelling testimony from young people that have been exposed to lead and how that affects their learning and their opportunity in the future is significant. So thanks for the time reminder, and we'll look forward to additional discussion here. Thank you.
Excellent. So that's another absolutely. So we'd like to move on now, and thank you everybody who's taken the time at that. Our MICAH chapter spans both Suburban, Ramsey, and Washington County. We've got Commissioner Fran Moran. And my apologies, Fran, if I got your last name. So what are you doing to make housing happen within the county? And also talking a little bit about the adult shelter. So, Fran.
Thank you, John. And first of all, I want to thank our legislative representatives, senators. We've just got such a great bipartisan legislative representation here in Washington County, and appreciate all of the members of the legislature that support us on these issues. Washington County really has been taking a holistic approach at these issues for some time, but currently, our focus has really been on mortgage and rental assistance during the pandemic to avoid really exacerbating the homeless situation that we deal with annually. We continue to work through our Community Development Authority, formerly our Housing and Redevelopment Authority, adult affordable senior housing, on workforce housing, and then, from a holistic approach, as I mentioned, just the transit and support services that are needed in many cases by the populations we're serving. And, as I talk about support services, it's, mental health support, personal finance support, and then the food availability and security. We've been using some of our community development block grants to support the food shelves and the pantries. And in addition to providing mortgage and rental assistance, we've also been providing food assistance in Washington County as well. And then some of the grants that have gone out to the nonprofit organizations have included the food banks and food service providers throughout the county. So we appreciate that. The adult homeless shelter is something that the county board has been discussing now for some time, and really charged our community development authority with moving forward on identifying a location and a facility that we could use for an adult homeless shelter. So we're moving on this. Our CDA is working with potential partner communities and partner organizations. We have representatives here from St. Andrews, which has been a good partner organization in the past, along with many of the other faith communities, as we've worked to provide homeless shelters. And it's just worked out so well when we're able to create those partnerships. And I know John Belial is on the meeting today. John has chaired our CDA in the past. He just stepped down to allow an opportunity for another member of that board, but he could certainly talk a little more about the specifics with respect to the CDA and the efforts that we're making there. But appreciate the opportunity to be with you today.
All right, thank you very much. We're gonna move on to the some of the Ramsey County folk, and I'll chat to John and see if he wants to say anything on that. And in this Ramsey County, as I said, an opportunity to raise more money for a number of things, including affordable housing. And I'm hoping that Victoria Reinhardt is still with us. County Commissioner Victoria. So you have some time to talk about what you at the county board are doing to make housing happen, and to talk a little bit about that HRA levy. Thank you.
Well, apparently there is a time limit also. I didn't realize I was going to be making any presentation, but I'm more than happy to do that. But what is the time limit? 2 minutes?
3 minutes. 3 minutes.
Okay. Well, and you provided a lot of data anyway, so we're good as far as the data and the need. I think it's pretty well known here. Well, I guess what we have recently done, obviously, is some pretty major work when it comes to the purchase of the Bethesda Hospital, and then also some shelter beds at Luther Seminary and then at St. Kate's. So there's been a lot of activity regarding shelter, but we all know that shelter is enough to keep you alive, but it is not what you actually need as far as affordable housing and mixed income housing. There's many different ways to approach this. What we're looking at for the HRA levy, we're the only metropolitan area county that doesn't have, even though we have an HRA, we don't have a levy. And so we're looking at doing that. That would go into effect in 2022. We're in the process right now of pulling all of that information together, and it would be used to support the preservation of existing and the creation of new affordable housing developments. And it would be done by offering gap financing and land acquisition funds, as well as allocating resources to increase the competitiveness of Ramsey County projects applying for state or federal funds, primarily state funds through the Minnesota Housing Finance Agency, because it's important that those projects to have the support of the county. We would additionally be really focusing on funding for affordable housing on 30% AMI units, which is the greatest need in our marketplace. Right now, only accounting for 5.5% of total housing production, and there's currently, well, I had about 15,000 units that we are short, but I think you had it at 16,000, but let's just say we need to fill that gap. And so we're looking at how we pull everyone together in partners, and I'm sure the mayor of White Bear Lake, she was on the meeting that we had just earlier this week. There's so many meetings that kind of gets all lumped together sometimes. But anyhow, we're really, not only are we trying to deal with the shelter issues and really working very hard on that and making progress, but also on the affordable housing and mixed income housing. And it's been really great to see the support and the partnership. Questions asked, of course, but that's what you should have in a healthy discussion. But we're excited about what we are trying to do here, and we're looking at having more discussion with the county board in March. And I'm done.
Excellent.
Obviously, we'll stand for questions after.
As you had just called out Mayor Joe Emerson, White Bear Lake, and we would also like her to speak to what White Bear, and also I also want to thank White Bear Lake City staff. It seems that you've got 2/3 of City Hall is with us right now, and it's been a really great relationship with White Bear. So Joe, what are you doing to make housing happen? And when the county activates that levy, where do you think additional resources could be best used in your community?
Well, thank you, John. Good morning. We've just adopted our 2040 comp plan, which goes into the Metropolitan Council. And in it, we designate key opportunity sites where we can have higher density multifamily housing. So that's one thing we have done. But more importantly, we are forming a housing task force to explore types of housing needed in the community and identify the barriers to getting those. The side benefit is that I hope we will build advocacy for more affordable housing and more multi-family housing. And so if we can get people to understand what it is and come in. So I think that's going to be the key piece to that. As far as you, as you point out, yes, our staff is very committed, including Mark Sather still continues, even though he's no longer officially staff, he still continues to support something he believes very strongly in. And our current city manager and our community development director are here. And we have a housing specialist now in our planning department. So that to me is very key too. She's amazing and she's doing great work, Tracy Shimmick. So as far as the HRA, as Commissioner Reinhardt said, I just was at the meeting. So we in the city have our own HRA. So quite frankly, I have to say, this is new information to me and I haven't really given it a lot of thought of how we're going to be able to use this, but I'm sure that will be forthcoming, but it's still relatively new information to me at this point. Staff has probably got a better idea than I do, but anyway, as I said, we have our own HRA and we've done some projects using that. So that's kind of where we're at. So I thank you once again. I always enjoy coming to this. So thank you for inviting me.
Excellent. And thank you for your responses. When we set this out, we weren't sure exactly how many folks would be showing up. So we can ask two more voices to come forward. Fran Marone had talked about the CDA, the Washington County CDA, and John Belisle is on that. Do you want to take a minute or two to talk about the shelter? John?
Yes. Very briefly, so Washington County Commissioners have tasked the Washington County Community Development Agency to find the appropriate location for a shelter and then try to put together all of the data that's going to need to make the final decision. Obviously, there's capital costs to purchase the place, and then there will be figuring out what the operating costs are going to be, and then how do we pay for that on an ongoing basis. It's the indication we've got from the county commissioners that they're supportive of this. They've tasked us with doing it, and that's what we're doing. We are going to try to take a real collaborative approach versus adversarial. So we're looking for a property or two, and then we're going to engage the city, and we want it to be where everybody's on the same page, right? So we may be asking some of the folks in this call to help us when that time comes, if we find a location. And sometimes education is an important part of that process, as you all know. And so we'll be engaging you to help us explain the need and how it's a positive and not a negative for our community going forward. So stay tuned on that front. But I'm very excited. This is something that I've been advocating for almost 5 years now. And I think it's going to happen this year. I've talked to the county commissioners and all the CDA commissioners, and everybody's on the same page, it appears to me. So thank you.
Excellent. Thank you, John. We also have Metropolitan Councilor Susan Vento, and we didn't prepare for specifically Met Council level. So if you want, you can certainly take some time and talk about housing from the Met Council level.
Thank you, John. I'm actually kind of glad you don't have specific questions. It would have felt like a test in front of the whole class, but I will answer the question, what are you doing to make housing happen? As a member of the Metropolitan Council, I'm on the Community Development Committee and have had in the last almost 2 years the amazing learning opportunity to go through the review of 2040 comp plans, and I have been so impressed with the work that the communities represented here today have done with regard to housing and their community development. When I was first appointed in early 2019, my first community visit back when we could see people face to face was in Hugo, and Commissioner Mirren was there as well. And a big part of that conversation that morning was what Hugo was doing with regard to housing and in specifically homelessness. And since then, whether it's Hugo or White Bear Lake or Mahtomedi or North St. Paul, Maplewood, it just seems that this Northeast metro area is really engaged in addressing the housing issues. And you need all of us who are in various official government roles to be strong partners to you, and you can count on that. The Met Council as a whole is deeply committed to the housing agenda, and we will do everything we can to work with you. Back a year ago in December, when Governor Walz announced a housing initiative, the Met Council was the first organization to step up with money. And following that initiative, there were many others. I don't want the council to take credit, but I just want you to know that we'll be there to do what we can to help. And I look forward to more conversations with you. I always know that when I get an invitation from any of the cities, any of the counties, and an organization like MICAH, that I'm going to walk away having learned a lot. And as a former teacher, I love that. So thank you very much. And definitely let me know how I can help with the lead safe home bill. It's an issue that as a former teacher really tugs at my heart. So thank you.
Thank you. Thank you very much. If there's anybody in chat or wants to say otherwise that I missed you, if you're a mayor or a state representative or state senator or county commissioner. I think I got everybody. All right. The next point on our agenda is a reflection. I see that Sue is ready, and then after is going to say, are you ready to say a little thing, Sue? And then I'm just going to, oh, there's my timer, reflect back what we heard. And Sue?
I just want to thank everyone so much. That was just incredible. And I want to thank especially our senators that are willing to help sponsor our Lead Safe Home Bill. And I think as Senator Housley suggested, is that this is our top priority. We wanted to go all the way through this year, and looking forward to working with you all on this.
Excellent. I'd like us now, this is, well, as Metropolitan Councilor Vento said, it's kind of like we're in front of class. But we are also here because it's not just, well, motivations are many. At MICAH, many people are motivated by their faith, motivated by their heart and their emotional connections. And I'd like us all to sit for a minute and thankfulness. And if you are prayerful, there's certainly a bit of silent prayer. We invited people to come before us today who are our elected representatives. In our system, the election of people, the successful election of someone, means that they are there to serve. They're servant leaders. And we, as people of faith and people who care about housing, are here to hear what they have to say and to bear witness to what they have to say. So I'm just going to go over what I heard for the various folks who were here today. Regarding our state legislative branch, Representative Peter Fisher is the lead author on the Lead Safe Home Bill. And Representative Christensen said that she would absolutely support the Lead Safe Home Bill. Representative Karen Housley has said that she is more than happy to author, to be a Senate author for the Lead Safe Home Bill. Representative Lilly has said that he is happy to support it, and Senator Chuck Uygur said that he will absolutely support it and is willing to co-author that. And also, I think it was Representative Lilly who said, hey, we missed the opportunity to applaud, but I would like to offer a round of applause to all of our state folks who came forward and said that they are absolutely going to be supporting that. So thank you so very much. Fran is our Washington County Commissioner. The question that we had is, if we can, I'll move back to that. Do you support purchasing a property for an adult shelter in 2021 and opening the shelter in 2022? What I heard was that the county board has been discussing this and has tasked their community development agency to ID the site and some communities, that they are moving on this and that the CDA is working on that. I didn't hear the absolute yes. I'm gonna stake 100% that will open in 2021 or 2022. But it is also the case that John Belisle, a member of said CDA that was tasked to do that, is working both on capital costs and operating costs and has support at the board and the county board and also at the CDA board to do that. They're looking for a collaborative view with the city that they're going to be looking at. So thank you for that, everyone. Regarding Ramsey County, move to other way. Commissioner Victoria Reinhardt said that they have been working particularly to look at funding for 30% area median income housing. That they're looking at everything for affordable housing, shelters, and mixed income units, and that but once again, that that one of the areas that she wanted to lift up was that 30% AMI housing as well. Mayor Emerson, Joe Emerson, and White Bear has been working on their comp plan and identifying key sites for that, and has a housing task force coming online, which is exciting. Also, though, has been doing their own this HRA CDA work and is interested in looking forward to that. As we're now at 9:08 and we're scheduled to go to 9:30, we have a bit of time. Is there any feedback? Sue, do you want to say anything? And is there anybody else who wants to follow up on that?
I just am very excited about all the incredible work that we all are doing together, and looking forward to continuing our work together. Just want to make sure that you know that next Tuesday at 8 a.m. we have our MICAH Northeast chapter meeting, our regional meeting, and you're all welcome to join us there too. So as we move into the call to action here, we're going to be asking you to make some phone calls right now. So John, do you want to take that, or do you want me to take that? Okay, I think you said go ahead. You're
Go ahead.
on. Okay. So we'd like you to take your cell phones out if you have a cell phone, or your landline. I still am one of those people that has a landline. And we'd like you to call Senator Draheim. He's the chair of the Housing Committee, and ask him or say to him that you want him to support the Lead Safe Home Bill that Representative Fisher will be introducing. And now you can say that Senator Housley will be the chief author in the Senate, and then also to call Representative Alice Hausman and say basically the same thing. And we'd like to just take a few minutes and actually have people do that, so we know you get it done. And then we hope that you'll take time today and call your own state senator and representative. So we're going to pause for about 3 to 5 minutes. If you're not comfortable doing it on screen, you can take yourself off screen while you actually do it. It might get a busy number, so busy signal if all of us are calling at one time. But if you don't get through, we hope that you will take time at some point today, and we'll post their numbers on the website, and I will send out an email also with this information too. So we're going to take about 3 to 4 minutes, and just to make these 2 phone calls. Again, if you're not comfortable doing that in front of people and you want to go off screen, just hit your stop video for a minute, and then we're going to come back and just have a brief closing. You can also take yourself, if you're unmuted right now, you might want to mute yourself if you're going to be talking on the phone too.
I got answering machines. I don't know about everybody else. Sue, are you on mute or not?
Nope, I think we still have a few people on the phone, so we should probably not talk yet for a minute.
Okay.
If you're still on the phone, if you want to just wave at us so we know that we're bothering you. I think we may have everybody done, John.
Excellent. I just wanted to turn it back to you then, Sue, to talk a little bit about our upcoming events,
Okay.
which are so easy to get to now that many of them are Zoom meetings.
Yep. So we hope that you will stay involved with us at MICAH. As I mentioned, next Tuesday, we have our MICAH Northeast chapter. And then we have legislative breakfasts that you're welcome to join the other 3 that we'll be having the rest of February, every Friday at the same time. And they encourage you also to be involved in our work with the Second Chance Coalition and with Gerald C. Day on the Hill and the Mental Health Day on the Hill. So encourage you to be involved in all those activities. And we encourage you to be involved. We have a critical conversation coming up in housing in the Northwest Hennepin County suburbs too. So if you're available and interested in joining that. So please stay actively involved with us. Again, sign up for our newsletter and for our updates. You can do that by going to www.micah.org. It's been in the chat a couple times. And at the bottom of the first page of our website, you can sign up. Also can sign up to become a member. And then if you go to our work and go under policy, you'll have the latest materials that we talked about today. And we're going to continue to be updating that. And that goes out on our weekly information also, where you can get to that link very quickly. Did you want me to close up, John, or were you going to close up?
Well, let's see. We have actually about five minutes, and we've been mostly listening to legislators. Is there anybody else from the floor who would like to say a little bit? Any of the wonderful city staff that would like to just speak out? Or folks that are providers in the community that we're so proud of and so happy to have here?
Linda Soderstrom, do you want to talk a little bit about the work that you're doing with Homes for All?
Sure, I'd be happy to. Greetings, everyone. My name is Linda Soderstrom. I live in Southeast Minnesota, actually, between Rochester and Winona. I was just displaced twice in 2 years' time with a Section 8 voucher, which is why I am in a rural area. I originally lived at Crossroads at Penn in 2015. And that led me to organizing, where I am now joining a brand new advisory in the Homes for All Coalition, which will consist, we hope, of a more diverse population than we have it yet filled for. We have about 5 or 6 openings still to bring diversity, but we are attempting, Homes for All, to have better voices at the table, better diversity, and a more broad spectrum decision-making empowerment. So my path led me to freedom from the streets, no more streets. And that is something most of you know that Janelle Anderson and Rome Daring and Alexis Kramer have founded in the last couple of years, and MICAH has helped. I go to meetings twice a week with Freedom from the Streets, and Freedom from the Streets confronts and asks difficult questions, relates well with people at all levels of government, and then as well invites them back. You know, those are sometimes uncomfortable moments or tough conversations. And then within like 90 days, we say, well, could the police come back and talk with us? Or could the child protection workers come back and talk with us? So I think that's a really good way of building those bridges and crossing over, not just building them and waving from the other side, but actually meeting in the middle or crossing over. I think spiritually, I couldn't be more grateful for Freedom from the Streets accepting me for who I am, where I am, how I am. I'm a talkative white woman, but we need to lift up voices of people who have been eternally disenfranchised. And, you know, that kind of speaks to the Speakers Bureau idea. I've been working on that these last 5 years as well, and hope that MICAH can help me get Speakers Bureau efforts off the ground in Minnesota, and also with the National Coalition for the Homeless. So anything else, Sue? I might be forgetting something.
Oh, no, that's great, Linda. And Linda is also a member of the National Coalition for the Homeless and helps on our membership committee. I have the honor and privilege to humbly serve as the president of the National Coalition for the Homeless right now, too. So we're very excited that our executive director is formerly homeless, also an African-American at the National Coalition for the Homeless. So we're very excited about the ongoing work of working at the national and at the state and at the local level that MICAH is involved with. John has up on the screen right now. We have a number of different organizations that help fund MICAH besides all of you as congregations and organizations and as individuals. And we want to thank the St. Paul Foundation, the Polad Foundation, Target Foundation, the Hugh J. Anderson Foundation, and a number of other smaller foundations too, and groups that have been a part of making our work happen. Would you like me to close out there, John? All right, okay. So I hope most of you had an opportunity to watch part of the inauguration or to see some snippets of it, if not. And Amber, the 22-year-old who did the incredible poetry, just want to paraphrase or quote parts of her poem, where she said, "Love is our legacy. Light is all around us. We need to be brave enough to see it, and we need to be brave enough to be it. So as we move through today, let our love and our light shine out as we are welcoming community members to everyone, listening to each other, even the folks that we disagree with, and coming together for the common good as we work together to meet the immediate needs of people experiencing homelessness and housing crisis, food insecurity, and as we continue to work together to make the structural changes so that everyone has a safe, decent, accessible home that's affordable to them, and as we deal with the systemic racism within our system. So thank you all so much for being here. We are blessed to have all of you involved with MICAH. Have a wonderful rest of the day.